I woke up to silence, the kind of silence that feels wrong before you even open your eyes. No engine noise, no street sounds, just quiet. When I looked out the window, my driveway was empty. My car was gone. For a second, my brain went straight to the worst possibility, stolen. But then I noticed the tire marks. Clean, straight, professional. That's when the truth hit me. It had been towed at midnight, without warning. I checked my phone. No missed calls, no emails, no HOA notices. Nothing on my windshield the night before, just gone. I walked outside barefoot, still half asleep, and that's when I saw her porch light turn on. HOA Karen, standing there with a coffee mug, smiling. She waved. That smile told me everything. The night before, my car had been parked in my own driveway, perfectly inside the lines, the same spot it had been in for years. But Karen had complained before. She hated that I backed in instead of pulling forward. She said it looked aggressive. I wish I was joking. I called the tow company. They confirmed it. The tow request came from the HOA, authorized by Karen herself, who happened to be on the board and loved reminding everyone of it. They wanted $420 to release my car. I called the HOA office, straight to voicemail. I knocked on Karen's door. She opened it slowly, like she'd been waiting. She told me my car was out of compliance and that rules were rules. When I asked which rule, she said I should read the handbook. That's when I realized this wasn't about parking. This was personal. Before I go any further, if you enjoy real HOA stories where entitlement goes way too far and karma comes back fast, hit like and subscribe right now. You're watching Karen Stories Daily, and trust me, this one escalates in a way nobody expected. I paid the tow fee because I needed my car for work, but the moment I got it back, I started digging. HOA bylaws, city codes, property records, everything. And buried deep in the documents was something Karen either forgot or hoped no one would notice. Her house. The HOA didn't own the land outright. The home sat on leased parcels tied to a development agreement from years ago. Most people never looked at it, but I did. And what I found explained why Karen always acted untouchable. She wasn't just enforcing rules. She was hiding something big. Something that made towing my car at midnight the worst decision she could have made. Because by morning the problem wouldn't be my missing car anymore. It would be her missing house. After I got my car back, I didn't go to work that day. I couldn't. My head wasn't in it. Every mile I drove, all I could think about was that smug smile on Karen's face and how confident she was that nothing would happen to her. So I went home, sat down, and kept reading. HOA bylaws are boring, dry, painful. But when you're angry enough, you read every word. I cross-checked them with city parking codes, then with state towing laws. That's when the first crack appeared. The HOA had no authority to tow vehicles from private driveways. Only common areas. Only marked violations. Only after written notice. None of that happened. Karen had signed the tow authorization herself. No vote. No notice. No warning. Just power abuse. I emailed the HOA board with screenshots and citations. I asked one simple question. Under what authority was my car towed from my private driveway? No response. That silence pushed me further. I pulled property records next, not just mine. Everyone's. The entire neighborhood. That's when I noticed something strange. The land parcel numbers didn't match the houses the way they should have. Digging deeper, I found the original development agreement from over a decade ago. It was old, scanned badly, and clearly never meant for residents to read. But I read it anyway. The homes weren't built on individually owned land. They sat on long-term leased parcels controlled by a holding company. The HOA acted as manager, not owner. Most people never questioned it because nothing ever went wrong. Except now. Karen's house stood out immediately. Different parcel, different lease date, different compliance requirements, and according to the agreement, failure to follow city code enforcement actions could trigger a lease termination clause, a clause that allowed the landowner to reclaim the property structure itself, I had to read it 3 times to be sure. This wasn't about fines. This wasn't about warnings. This was about losing the house. I contacted the holding company listed in the document. I expected voicemail. Instead, a real person answered. I explained the situation calmly and sent over my evidence. The towing, the misuse of HOA authority, the lack of compliance notices. They didn't sound surprised. Apparently, Karen had already been flagged for multiple violations, unapproved exterior changes, improper HOA enforcement actions, unauthorized legal threats. My complaint wasn't the start. It was the last straw. Within hours, Karen noticed something was wrong. She came outside when a city vehicle parked near her house. She stood on her porch watching inspectors walk the property line. Her confidence was gone. She knocked on my door that evening, not yelling this time, whispering, asking questions, saying there must have been a misunderstanding. She claimed the tow was procedural. I told her I didn't have the authority to fix what she'd already set in motion. That night, HOA emails went out fast. Emergency board meeting. Closed session. No residents allowed. By midnight, Karen's porch light was on again. But this time, she wasn't smiling. Because by then, the holding company had already sent formal notice. And once that notice was issued, there was no reversing it. What happened next didn't take months. It didn't take years. It took one morning. The notice arrived before sunrise. Not by email, not by phone. A physical notice, taped cleanly to Karen's front door. Bright paper, legal language, no emotion, lease termination. By the time most of the neighborhood woke up, the energy had changed. Doors opened slowly. Curtains moved. People whispered on sidewalks. Everyone knew something serious was happening, even if they didn't know the details yet. Karen came outside in a panic. No makeup, no confidence. She ripped the notice off her door and read it like maybe the words would rearrange themselves if she stared long enough. They didn't. She started making calls fast, angry, desperate. First the HOA president, then the board, then lawyers, then anyone who would answer. But the problem wasn't misunderstanding anymore. The problem was paper, signed agreements, years of ignored rules. And one very bad decision made at midnight. By mid-morning, 2 trucks rolled in. Not police, not movers, contractors, legal enforcement, the kind that shows up only when everything has already been decided. The holding company representative stepped out with a clipboard, calm, professional. He didn't argue, he didn't negotiate. He explained the process clearly. The lease had been terminated due to repeated violations and misuse of authority. The structure itself reverted to the landowner under the original agreement. Karen screamed that it wasn't possible, that people didn't just lose houses overnight. But that's the thing about contracts no one reads. They don't care how loud you yell. The HOA president arrived late, looking like he hadn't slept. He tried to step in, but the representative shut him down fast. The HOA had no standing here. They were never owners, just managers who forgot their limits. Neighbors gathered. Phones came out. Someone whispered, "Is her house really being taken?" Yes, it was. By noon, utilities were disconnected. Gas, power, water, all legally, all documented. Karen sat on her front steps crying, calling this harassment, calling it unfair, calling it a conspiracy. No one helped, because by then, people had started talking about the tows, the fines, the threats, the way she used HOA power like a weapon. Stories came out that no one had ever shared out loud. The house wasn't bulldozed. It wasn't destroyed. That would have been dramatic, but this was worse. It was removed. Over the next 2 days, contractors dismantled it piece by piece. Modular construction, lifted sections, loaded cleanly onto flatbeds, quiet, efficient, legal. By the 3rd morning, the lot was empty. Grass, dirt, nothing else. Karen was gone. No goodbye, no apology, no explanation. Just gone. The HOA sent out a long email later that week, claiming unexpected legal restructuring and reminding residents to follow community guidelines. Nobody replied. They updated the parking policy too. Funny how that happened. My driveway stayed empty that night, but for the first time it felt peaceful. No fear of random towing, no power trips, no entitlement hiding behind rules. If there's one thing this taught me, it's that HOA power only exists as long as people don't read the fine print. The moment someone does, the whole illusion can fall apart fast. If this story shocked you, or if you've ever dealt with HOA nonsense that crossed the line, drop a comment below. Would you have pushed back sooner or let it slide? Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Karen Stories Daily, where entitlement always meets consequences. Because sometimes, when someone tows your car at midnight by morning, they lose everything.